Welcome to episode 19 of Book Nerd Paradise, where we get to know an author a little bit as they tell us one of their favorite quotes, read from their work, pose a trivia question, and give away a book or two. Hi, I'm LRW Lee, author of the Andy Smithson Epic Fantasy Adventure Series. As always, Book One of the Andy Smithson series, the eBook, is available for free download from Amazon, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. So if you haven't gotten your copy yet, please feel free to get yourself one. I'm also excited to announce that you can now take Book Nerd Paradise with you. That's right, Book Nerd Paradise episodes are now available for free download on the iTunes podcast store, so look for the channel there. Today, we welcome YA fantasy author Dianna Beirne as our guest. Dianna wishes she lived in a fantasy world many times. Boy, don't we all? But since that's not possible, she writes about fantasy worlds instead. Proof? Her first young adult novel, Aurelious 40, Volume 1, quickly turned into her first young adult series, with 3 volumes currently and another coming. Prior to dedicating her time to writing, Dianna taught undergraduate and graduate courses about using literacy in the elementary, middle, and high school classroom. She has a bachelor's degree in elementary education, a master's degree in literacy, and a doctorate in education specializing in curriculum and teaching. That's all to say she's really smart. Dianna lives in New York and is mom to a son whom she misses terribly when he's away at college. Please join me in welcoming Dianna Beirne.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I'm not that smart. I'm smart about a few things, but not most things.
Hey, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. How's that?
Yeah, thanks.
Dianna, you'll be reading from your YA fantasy novel, Aurelious 40. Would you give us a brief synopsis?
I'll read it right off the back of the cover of Volume 1. So Aurelious 40 has led a lonely, troubled life. He stays disconnected from the world around him with no family and no friends. He lives merely to exist, to survive. Aurelius's life changes in an instant when an impulsive decision forces him to abandon everything he's ever known. Choosing to follow strangers into a new world, he discovers he is born with a gift so strong, so unique, it could give him the power to change humanity. But the shadows of his childhood are long and dark and run through every fiber of his soul. Can Aurelius break the chains of his past and use his gift for good? Or will the nightmare of his tormentors set him on a path of revenge so fierce it could destroy us all?
You've selected a favorite quote. Would you tell us what that is and then tell us why it's a favorite?
So my quote is a George Eliot quote, and it's from The Mill on the Floss. He says, "We can never give up longing and wishing while we are thoroughly alive. There are certain things we feel to be beautiful and good, and we must hunger after them." The reason that I like that quote is because I feel like there's a message about moving forward in life. And although things don't always work out the way we plan for them to work out, we just have to keep going and keep living and keep dreaming. And it's okay to dream. And that, I think, is important. Although we have to live, a real life, I think there's just a message about being wishful sometimes and the power of being wishful.
You'll be giving away a book today. What book are you giving our listeners?
Okay, there's 3 books so far in the series, so I'm actually going to give away a signed copy of each of the first 3 books. So there's Volume 1, there's Volume 2, and there's Volume 3. And so I'm going to give away a signed copy of each of those.
Awesome. That's great. And then you said you've got one more coming, so.
I do. I'm currently working on the 4th. It was supposed to be a trilogy, but all of this stuff happened in the 3rd book that I did not anticipate, so that bumped it to 4. So there is a 4th one that's in the works, but that's not going to be out for a bit still.
Cool. Yeah, characters have a nasty habit of doing that, don't they?
They do.
So to enter to win, all you need to do is leave a short comment over on YouTube. That's all it takes. Just tell us what you liked about the episode, maybe something that's fascinating to you, or anything about it, and that will enter you to win. And then what we'll do is on Saturday we'll do a random drawing, and we'll pick we'll pick the winner and notify you from there. So Dianna, you'll be reading from Aurelious 40, Book One. Would you briefly set up the portion you'll be reading from and then share with us?
Well, as I sort of read in the little blurb on the back, he's had a very difficult childhood. He's been very isolated, and it's sort of an abusive upbringing that he had, being transferred from foster home to foster home. And when he meets up with these strangers who tell him that he has the ability to do something that he did not know he had the ability to do, he just didn't believe it at all. He's extremely cynical, very negative. And through some circumstances that happened to him right before this part where I'm going to read, he's starting to see that what these people are saying might actually be true about him. And that's terrifying to him. And it also sort of means that, if this is really what his life is supposed to be about, then all of that stuff that happened to him as a child was just meaningless. And so this part that I'm going to read right now is one of the first times that he really starts making a change in his life and the way he views the world. They gave me time to myself like I asked. I don't know how much time, since I forgot to take the watch when I staggered away from the table and ran like a baby. I was embarrassed by my behavior. I should have just told them what happened, although, let's be real, they probably already knew. But I didn't know what happened. Nothing like that ever happened to me before. It felt weird. It felt bad. And all I know is that I saw her cut her hand. I saw it bleeding, but then a minute later, when all of those images of the rest of the world came flooding back in, her hand was fine. But I saw it bleed. I know I saw it. I was sitting on the ground with my head in my hands, grasping for any reasonable explanation, desperate to come up with something, when I felt her touch the top of my head. I knew it was her because her touch made my head tingle, which only added to my distress. Why did her touch make my head tingle? I stood up and took a step away from them. She looked concerned at the sight of me, and so did Brecklin. Why do you always feel the need to touch me? What's wrong with touching? She asked. She didn't really know. I don't like it, I said emphatically. I don't like all of the touching. I rolled my shoulders and shook my head like I was trying to shake off the feeling of the contact. Who doesn't like to be touched? She was perplexed. I don't. But why not? I ran my hands through my hair and then crossed my arms protectively over my chest and took another step back. Because I don't. Anira looked at Brecklin as if she wanted him to explain this weird thing. Not everyone likes to be touched. Isn't weird, is it? He had bad experiences with touch in his childhood. His experience with touch is violent, not affectionate. Immediately, her expression went from confused to sad. She came toward me with her arms outstretched, as if it was her own reflex to my pain. I backed up again. She stopped. Aurelious, please, she begged. I won't hurt you. I touch you because I care about you. Touch is not harmful here. But I don't like it, Anira. I yelled at her. I shouldn't have yelled, but I didn't know how to communicate this. It confuses me. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about it. Am I supposed to like it or not? Am I supposed to run from it or not? Am I supposed to fear it or not? I can't figure it out. Does it feel bad when I touch you? She asked with a tear in her eye. I can't explain how it feels. I was still yelling. People hit me or pinched me or poked at me or pushed me. That's what I know about touching. So it's always bothered me because it's always been a source of pain or humiliation. I was spilling everything out. Without my laptop to hold my thoughts, I had no other choice but to speak. But then I'm here and people are like patting me on the back and shaking my hand and putting their arm around me, and it doesn't feel bad. But I don't know how to not feel bad about it. Can you understand that? It's always been bad and now it isn't. How am I supposed to make sense of that? Don't try to rationalize it, she yelled back in response to me, and I suspect she didn't really want to be yelling either. Brecklin put his hand up. Aurelious, you're confused because your issue is not really with the physical pain. That's only what's on the surface. The tragedy of your childhood is that you were where you didn't belong. You never formed relationships with the people you met because you shouldn't have been with them. It isn't a natural habitat for people like us. So you thought all along that you were burdened by the physical or emotional abuse that you suffered at the hands of those Gajeh, but in reality, your greater burden was not being with us, where you belong, not being able to form your human connections. You're confused because you assume that you shouldn't like to be touched or cared for based on how you grew up, but here you do like it. and you wonder why you can so easily move on from what you've always known. You're not betraying your past or the person that you've always been by accepting your new feelings. You're becoming the person you were always meant to be. I walked around in circles, running my hands through my hair and then crossing my arms back over my chest. Is it really that simple? Could I just let my past go because it's irrelevant compared to my present and my future? Was my past really just an accident, some unfortunate mistake? Please, Aurelius, please stop thinking of us as those Gage. We aren't them, and you aren't them. Anira had her hands clasped together like she was praying that I would finally understand. We touch here because we care about each other. They hurt you, and that sickens me. I am so desperately sorry for the pain you suffered as a child, but that isn't what happens here. Haven't we proven to you by now that we are not the same people? Haven't we proven to you by now that we aren't here to hurt you? I wanted to say that they hadn't proven it, but it dawned on me that in reality they had proved that they didn't want to hurt me. As much as I tried to pretend that I had to protect myself from these people, the truth is they had already protected me. No, they'd done more than protect me. They saved me. They saved me from the Ingwar's men, and they saved me from the life I knew before, the life I never belonged in. They saved me from the hands of my foster parents, my foster siblings, and the derelicts that lurked around the darkened corners of the dangerous places I'd lived. I'd known Brequin for many weeks now, and in all that time, he's been nothing less than kind to me. Even when I pushed him away, even when I treated him badly, he was still nice. He noticed me. When I tried so hard to go unnoticed, he pushed through everyone and everything, and he found me. I lived better in the few days that I'd been here with them than in my entire life. I dropped my hands to my sides and I looked at them. They weren't here to hurt me. They wouldn't hurt me. I knew it from the minute I met them, but I tried to fight the urge to trust them, to trust my own instincts. But I didn't need to fight here. Finally, I didn't need to fight. Do you know what happens when you realize that for the first time in your life you aren't in danger and there are actually people that want to protect you from it? You let yourself cry. Every feeling I had ever felt seemed to rush through my body and soul, overwhelming me. Every fear that I had desperately tried to suppress, every hope that I dared not have, ran through my veins. Every time I wished for more and cursed what I had, flooded my brain. I fell to my knees, and with my face in my hands, I cried. I have no memory of the last time I cried because it wasn't safe to express emotion that way. But here I am safe. Anira knelt down next to me and hugged me to her, and it didn't feel bad anymore. It felt safe. I heard her crying with me, and I didn't feel worse. I felt safe. Brequin knelt down on the other side of me and put his hand on my back, and I didn't pull away. I felt safe. And as it has done every day since I met these people, my life changed.
Our guest author last week, Dan Levinson, posed a trivia question for us.
My question was, what is the name of Hagrid's spider in Harry Potter? And the answer, of course, I'm sure many of you know this, is Aragog.
So Dianna, you have a trivia question for us. What is it?
Well, I'm a big Chronicles of Narnia fan, and I know I'm not alone in that. So my question is Narnia-based. Now, in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the kids get to and from Narnia through a wardrobe. That wardrobe is in the house of a man named Professor Kirk. My question is, in the Chronicles of Narnia series, when is the first time we meet Professor Kirk?
Oh boy, I'd have to think about that one. I'm very familiar with the series. I love it too. In fact, that was the reason I love fantasy. So be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the answer if you don't know. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I just really want to thank people for getting involved with this series and for reading it. I ask that if you have enjoyed it, that you please share it with other people so that they can enjoy it as well. And just really thank you for your support. It's meant a lot to me, and it continues to mean a lot to me. So thank you. It keeps me going.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed getting to know Dianna Beirne a little bit. I'm LRW Lee. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the Blast of the Dragon's Fury is available for free download, so be sure to get a copy for yourself. Click the button to subscribe to the Book Nerd Paradise YouTube channel so you don't miss upcoming authors, giveaways, and answers to trivia questions. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you again next Monday.